In this Learning Lab, Instructor Edition, we're going to be talking about streamlined workflows. So we're talking more about systems for the next 3 weeks. I hope that you'll enjoy these topics. If you want to know about the topics that come up in these live streams, you can find them on my website if you go to MAHJLIFE.com. And I'll share my screen in a minute and show you how you can do that. I just wanted to say hi and welcome. Thank you for being here today. Hello, Wes, welcome. I want to give a shout out to our moderators as well. Thank you very much for helping monitor the chat today. This episode is for instructors. So if you're a player who wants to maybe teach, stick around. But if you're a player who just wants to play, come to live streams on Mondays and Tuesdays. This is for instructors. So we're going to talk about our teaching practices and how we can do what we love better. So any questions about today? This is a relatively new episode on Thursdays. So let me share my screen and I'll show you how to access this resource. Some of you may not know about it yet, so I want to be sure that you can get to it because there's already a lot available, actually. Let me get it ready though first. Okay, here we go. Okay, so here's my website, Player to Learn to Teach. Okay, perfect. Stick around. Stick around. Welcome, Misty. Thank you for being here. Laura, Wes, welcome. Okay, so here's my website, MAHJLIFE.com. And I have a lot on my website. It's growing every day. Every day I add something because I have a lot to give. And I'm always innovating. So if you are a little overwhelmed by the website, that's okay. It's natural. So just use the menu system and poke around and you'll eventually find what you need. If you don't find what you need, you can always reach out. There's a contact us at the bottom right here of every page. Just click that and it'll take you to a form where you can fill it out and tell me what you need and I'll guide you, okay? So when you're on the home page, this instructor menu is your go-to. If you're an instructor, this is where you want to be. And the wiki as well. Okay, so under instructors, you're going to click Learning Lab, the second one down. Let me see if I can make that bigger for you. So right here, Learning Lab, second one down. So if you click on that, you'll come to the Learning Lab page. Well, it will explain what it is. The Learning Lab started out being just a private Facebook group where instructors could be present to answer questions from players in a private, safe space. So players can be confident that they're getting the right answer to their questions because vetted instructors are there to help them. And then the instructors are there to practice their teacher's voice. We also have mentors there who help encourage the newer instructors in how they deliver information. And that happens offline. So everybody gets to practice whatever their focus is, whatever their purpose is, whatever they're wanting to grow in, they can grow from there. So players grow in the game. Instructors grow their teaching practice by improving their confidence levels. And then mentors practice supporting others. They serve others by offering that mentorship. So it's a win-win-win. So that is the original plan for the Learning Lab. And then from that came this live stream and the live stream on Tuesdays called the Learning Lab Player Edition. So the Player Edition is where we play and answer questions from whoever's present in the live stream. So if you ever want to visit us on Tuesdays, you'll see the game being played. We'll do gameplay with commentary and then answer questions as well. And then on Thursdays, this is where we do the Instructor Edition for people who don't use Facebook. Not everybody uses Facebook. So this is a way for us to help instructors who don't use social media. So if you don't use Facebook specifically, join us here on Thursdays from 1 to 2 to get help with your teaching practice. To get to the content, you're going to click Instructor Edition Content, this button right here. That is going to take you to the new resource hub, which is another wiki that stores the episode notes. So every episode that we do will have a corresponding web page with notes from that episode. So if you scroll down, there's a search feature where you can search by keywords, but also you can search by date. So for example, if we search by last Thursday, we can do 2025-11-10. No, what was that? 11-13. 11-13. So you can use the date stamp. Y, month, day. Okay, so 2025-11-13. And then hit search, and it will pull up the show notes for that episode. So here's episode 2025-11-13. Just click on that, and it will take you to the show notes. So you can catch up. From here, you'll be able to click the button and actually watch the episode. And then you can also follow along with what we discussed, including some kind of a topic where we covered something that instructors will be interested in. And then you'll be able to download any template or framework that we might be using in the process. And there'll also will likely be some examples that you can also download. So please check out the show notes from past episodes if you're just joining us. And then also at the very bottom, you'll see reflections and takeaways so that you can query yourself at the end, just to make sure that you're taking some kind of value with you and that you're able to maybe apply something new that you learned. So that is the framework for the Instructor Edition Resource Hub. For today, we can just search. Oh, I wanted to show you another little feature here that's really nice. At the bottom, underneath the search, there's a little menu palette, I guess you could say, with the categories that we cover during these live streams. And then under that are featured articles. So here you'll see the popular articles, the ones that a lot of people read, and then the newest ones. So my plan is to publish the episode notes the day of each episode at 11 a.m. Eastern time. So you could always go to this featured articles block in the middle to newest to see what we're talking about and prepare in advance. And then we have the recently updated. So if I go back and add an example, or maybe I upload a ChatGPT log where we did a live demonstration on using ChatGPT for lesson planning, I'll update that on the fly, and then you'll be able to see maybe what's been updated that you might have missed. So make sure you look at these featured articles so that you can stay up to date, especially if you download something, because I may make a tweak that will improve it. So today we're going to work on streamlined workflows from chaos to control. I'm going to click on that. Does anybody have any questions? Let's see. So Misty, it sounds like you're just getting started. You're a player who wants to learn to teach. So you probably don't have any systems in place yet, but this is still good to know because you'll be able to hit the ground running and get started with systems in place. So that's what we're talking about today. If you want to follow along, go ahead and look for that episode and you can pull that up. So I'm going to go full screen and then we'll now talk. And I just use these show notes and we just talk through it. So it's much more interactive. There's not going to be a presentation unless I go in depth with some kind of a topic, but we will do demonstrations, especially if we have an activity to go through. We'll do that together. And I think we actually have an activity today. I think I do have an activity every time, actually, because I want it to be productive. That's the way I am. I am logical and practical. I like practicals. I want to give you something that you can use, you can implement, something that you can put into action right away. So I hope you find this helpful. Today, we're going to talk about the repetitive tasks that everybody has to do, no matter what. I mean, we're human. We do tasks all day. But when you run a teaching practice, whether you charge or not, so this is whether or not you're not-for-profit or for-profit, there are going to be minutia that you have to deal with, recurring tasks. And we want to try to streamline those as much as possible and even automate where we can, maybe even delegate where we can, so that we can focus on things that only we can do. So that is what we're going to be talking about today. And we're going to discuss some of the areas that you can focus on getting started. So with these repetitive tasks, if you don't have a system in place, or if you don't have those tasks documented at least, it can create chaos. You can have disorder because you're going to be doing it different every time. So those disorganized tasks can create this feeling of being distracted, and you may even be procrastinating work because you don't want to do those tasks that are arduous. So you want to focus on streamlining tasks as best you can. Take control by looking at these kinds of tasks so that you can identify where you're getting either blocked or hung up. Where are the bottlenecks, basically? And then you want to simplify the processes. You want to identify opportunities to automate steps to improve efficiency. The more efficient you are, the more likely you're going to do those tasks, and the quicker you're going to be able to do them. There's something called workflow mapping, and it can help streamline the process when you do this. So the whole idea is to have as smooth of operations as possible, especially with these recurring tasks, daily tasks. So some of the things that you can streamline are email management, social media publishing, client registration, lesson planning, and event planning. Those are the high-level recurring tasks that you can do in ways that are more efficient than just winging it. So when you think about your teaching practice right now, what recurring tasks take the most time? I'll give you a minute to think about that, and I'll do the same. And when you do think about this, there are different parts of our brain that we have to use with these recurring tasks. And some of the activity involved may take longer depending on the task. Let's see. So Wes says prepping for each class. Okay, that's interesting. I'm going to make notes as we go so I can make sure that we use some of these as examples. So let me pull up a notepad really quick here. Okay, so prepping for each class. So that's class lesson planning, event planning, actually like going to your staging area and getting your equipment, loading up the car, grabbing your kit, that kind of prepping? Or are you talking about prepping as in lesson planning, event planning? What kind of prep are you talking about, Wes? Okay, and also Laura's saying after lesson summary emails. Okay, that's a good one. Lesson summary emails. Okay, post-lesson summary emails. That's fantastic. Prepping for each class. So I'm looking forward to hearing what kind of prep you're talking about, Wes. Scheduling days to meet. Okay, so scheduling. Are you talking about one-on-one lessons? Or I suppose even group lessons? It probably doesn't matter, one-on-one or group. Yours is more about rehearsal time. Okay, so making sure that you're comfortable with your lesson plan and you do kind of a dry run and then tweak it based on how that feels before you go. So kind of like a rehearsal. That's what I'm seeing there. Prep class. Okay, so rehearsing each for rehearsing lesson plan for each class. Okay, good. You have to practice what to say. All right. Well, with your lesson plans, what format do you use in your lesson planning? Do you use, is it paragraph form? Is it is it pen to paper where you just kind of jot down notes? Is it an outline? What is the format that you're using? Because that'll be key in how that can be streamlined. The scheduling is trying to find a common time for all students who've signed up. Okay, so basically coordinating the best time. So scheduling would be coordinating between multiple players. Okay, I just want to write a note real quick here. Okay. All right. Now you have PowerPoint presentations. I see. Okay. So you have slides. You use slides. And in your slides, do you feel, I don't know if I've ever seen one of your presentations. Are your slides, do you follow best practices? For example, do you have no more than 5 bullets per page? Do you have no more than, let's say, 6 words per line or per bullet? Do you use a mixture of images and text? Do you have text-heavy slides? So what kind of best practices do you use? Because that is something that can be a good topic to cover. Okay, so far we have rehearsing for lesson plans, rehearsing lesson presentations. That's what I'm going to put. Okay, and then let's see, you try to follow best practices. Okay, good. And then post lesson summary emails and scheduling. Okay, excellent. All right, we're going to circle back to that. So now the next question is, where do bottlenecks or inefficiencies occur and which steps could be simplified? So think about that. Just think about what you go through when you do these things that you think consume the most energy. And when doing that, is there something that you can simplify, streamline, or maybe automate? Or maybe even stage, maybe do some staging as opposed to automation. There may not, depending on what happens, or the task, you may not be able to automate, but you can definitely stage, do staging, prep work, setup work. Okay, so let's see here. I'm gonna make another note on one of these. Okay, and then I have one here. Okay, and then we have okay, so now Misty is saying, let's see, oh, I'm sorry, Laura says you can hide your presenter notes from students. Yes. Misty says you love creating PowerPoint presentations to create excitement about topics, even just for fun. Oh, cool. So you're a creative thinker. Okay, good. So this kind of gets our juices flowing. We'll be able to use these examples as we go. So now we're going to talk about this framework, this mapping concept, workflow mapping. Now, some of these, like for example, the rehearsing lesson presentations, because you're working with a tool where you're taking that with you and that is going to be used in the lesson. Well, we'll go through the process and see if the workflow helps with that. So I think it might work. So let's just figure it out. So the idea here with this mapping is you pick a recurring task, this one task, just think about the one that you want to work on in this session, and then go to this article that I told you about today, go to that hub. Let me put this in the, let me put the link in chat real quick. There it is. So you can go download this framework. There's a framework that you should download because we're going to do this together. If you want, you can do it, but we'll probably do it together and I'll share my screen. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to use this framework to list tasks and highlight redundant areas and inefficient steps so that we can look for areas for improvement and streamline any processes. It's just a way to visualize it so that you can look at it from a different perspective rather than just doing it or feeling the pain of going through it. So let me open up the framework and then I'll share my screen. Let me see here. Did I down? Oh, shoot. I don't know. Whenever I save something, it always puts it in the last folder. And that last folder is not always where I want it to go. I don't like that it does that. So let me get this open once I find it. And I opened the recycle bin, which is not what I wanted to open. So hold 1 second. Okay, here it is. It was in my training folder. That's not where it's supposed to be. Okay, so we're gonna use Wes's example here. Wes's example, or Wes's pain, his recurring task pain. Okay, now hold on 1 second. Where is my, okay, my Word is taking a while to open here. Bear with me. Wait a minute, that's not what I wanted. Ooh. Okay, very weird. Oh, I know what happened. Okay. One page. Okay, so let me go back to, well, let's see, I guess we can do it this way. Okay, so here we go. Here's the framework, okay? Easy workflow mapping framework. And incidentally, I did upload this to the digital library in the Instructor Guild. So if you're a member of the Instructor Guild, this should be in the digital library, but it's also in this episode show notes as well. Okay, so here's the idea. This is a step-by-step guide to simplify, organize, and streamline your teaching systems. It's called workflow mapping. It's a process of documenting every step in a routine task to uncover inefficiencies, redundancies, and opportunities for improvement. So feel free to take a look at that later, kind of dig in deeper. But this is what we're going to focus on right now, is how to do this. The first thing you want to do is choose a process. So we're going to use Wes's process of rehearsing his presentation. And it can work for any presentation, whether you're doing a lesson, a workshop, or even a talk with an audience of 100 or more. Okay, so it doesn't have to just be for a lesson. It could be for other things. You can apply it to other things. So you're going to pick a process. Pick a task. Then you're going to list every step that you go through and then visualize it. There are different ways you can do it. I like to use electronic devices. I like to do it digitally. Personally, I don't like paper. I don't have a whiteboard, so I use my computer for this. And this is why I created this framework here in this Word document. So what you want to look for when you go through this activity is you want to think about, where do I repeat tasks? Where do delays happen? Where do mistakes happen? What tasks take too much time? Which steps could be combined? And which steps could be removed? So those are the things you want to think about. Those will help you identify the bottlenecks. Then you want to simplify and automate. You can do things like maybe do, for this particular example, we're not going to do it, but for, let's say, the client intake or the client registration, you can use an intake form, or you can use Calendly, an online platform for scheduling, and you can have Q&A in there or questions in there where you'll get an email notification with questions. So that's a way to do some automation. So that would be an example there. You could also use templates and things like that. So think about that. And this is where I'm thinking that a template might be helpful for the presentation rehearsal, just as a reminder of what to check, because sometimes you cannot see the trees for the forest and you may miss something. So once you go through the simplify and automate step, then you want to test it and then make adjustments and then revisit it. So once you're doing a task, once you've got it documented and you're using the new workflow, then you'll notice ways that you can continually simplify and maybe even automate. So it's not a one and done. It's an ongoing activity. It's something that you want to think about as you go. If you think about it, sometimes it takes time doing the same task to see, oh, you know what? I can combine these steps, or I really don't need this one. This is overkill. I'm going to remove that. So you want to keep an eye on what you're doing and why. Once you document it, revisit it and give it a critical eye, and then trim it if you can. So now there is a link in here that will come back to this article. So that's what that is right there. Now here is the framework. So step one would be identify the process. So here we're going to name the process, and this is going to be rehearsing, or we're going to say preparing for a lesson using a presentation. Preparing for a lesson using a presentation. Now, some lessons you're not going to use a presentation, so this is going to be specific, using a presentation. So what is the purpose of the process? We want to streamline because it's taking too much time. Streamline. We want to look for ways to streamline, make it simpler, simplify it, streamline, and maybe even, do you ever find, Wes, that when you go to your lessons that maybe you get there, you pull up your presentation and you're going through it and you find a typo? Has that ever happened to you? Can't see the trees for the forest? Let me know if that's an issue for you. Some people, they may forget to do some of the steps with doing presentations and sometimes not. So maybe I have as well. You kind of find an issue in there, or maybe you do, oh shoot, maybe you find a doggone it, maybe you find a typo in there, but also maybe you are talking about doing your talking points on a slide and you say it in such a way that makes it simpler. So maybe you can even refine the content in a slide. So you could maybe refine, document. Okay, so what I wanted to do here, we're going to document first and then streamline. So document first. Okay, so what is the purpose of the process? let's see, actually, this is what we're going to do down here. This is to proof the lesson plan and make sure the learning objectives are represented and outcomes are achieved. Okay, how's that for the purpose? This is why do you go through this process? You proof the lesson plan and you make sure, you ensure the learning objectives are represented and that outcomes are achieved. That's the bottom line. You want to make sure that after the presentation that you're delivering on what you promise. Refine slides while you're rehearsing. Refine the slides while you're rehearsing. Okay. Proofread and refine slides. There, how's that? Captures the perfect. Proofread and refine slides and ensure. Okay, we got too many N's in here. Proofread, refine, or really it's proofread and refine to ensure. There we go. Okay. That'll work. Okay, so proofread and refine slides to ensure that learning objectives are represented and outcomes are achieved. That's your goal, right? That's your purpose. So now here we go. Write each action that currently happens in the process. Okay, so the first thing I imagine, the first thing that you do is, now is this for, let me ask this, are you always creating a new presentation? Are they one and done? Or do you have a catalog that summarizes your presentation so that maybe you go to your catalog to find the presentation you want to work on, and then you go to the actual presentation and work from there? So what is the first thing that you do in your process? You go to the catalog. Do you have a catalog, or do you just go straight to the file? Do you just go straight to the presentation file? For when I get ready to do a meeting, I go straight to the file. So let's just put open presentation file. Who does it? Me. The level of effort, you go straight to the file, use the same presentation for every class. So it is a fundamentals lesson. Is that right? Is it a fundamentals lesson? Okay. And the level of effort, if you're refining, yes, you have separate files for each level. Okay, so let me do this. Separate files for each level. Okay, separate files for each skill level. Okay, so the level, beginner, intermediate, advanced. Okay. Okay, good. Now, the level of effort that it takes, it's probably more time consuming than it is difficult. So it's the time consuming piece. Now, do your presentations have evergreen content? So in your presentations, are you using hands from this year's card, for example? Or are you using timeless examples? Or do you even have those kinds of images in the presentation at all? Is it more text-based? So what kind of content is in the presentation? Is it evergreen or does it need maintenance? This is something that I'm going through my right now. It's a mixture of evergreen and current. Okay, so that's good. Let's see, level of effort, evergreen, easy, current, moderate, I guess. No, I'm going to say it's difficult because that's where you get slowed, or the effort level, high, low. There we go. That's what we want right there. Okay. Okay, so now the time required. So if you are if you're working on a presentation with evergreen content, you get it done once, you refine it, and you repurpose it. That's easy. You won't even have to rehearse that anymore. You just take it with you and you're done. It's the current information, the timely information, or time bound. It's really time, I guess current is fine, but it's where you're using content that ages, like the card. That's where you could probably make an improvement and either create a timeless card yourself or use mine. Use the MAHJLIFE mock card because it's timeless. The thing about the National Mahjong League, and this is incidentally something that I'm going to be doing with all my presentations that I do on Nitty Gritty Mondays, that is that I have in the past used the National Mahjong League card for examples in my presentations, and that's going to require me to go into every stinking presentation and update the examples every year when the new card comes out. That is not sustainable. So instead, you can streamline that process, and I'm probably jumping ahead here down to where you can streamline using the current National Mahjong League card requires maintenance, heavy maintenance. Okay, so we're going to just park that there. So up here, how long does it take you to go through your rehearsal? If your presentation is let's say 45 minutes and you're doing refining, I would say that it probably takes at least twice the time. So I would estimate that it would probably take maybe an hour and a half or 2 hours to rehearse for a 45-minute lesson. Would that be accurate? So let's say, because I know for me, it's a 3-hour class, a 1 hour takes you 1 hour to go through a 3-hour class. Okay, so that it sounds like most of your content then is probably evergreen. So the text heavy slides without like the card, it sounds like the examples that are current that you have to edit are probably low volume, because it sounds like for a 1 hour rehearsal time and refinement, that's not too bad. But you can probably streamline a bit. Okay, so once you go through that rehearsal, then the next step is when you're doing this rehearsal, do you go slide by slide and make the refinement on the fly, or do you make notes and continue and then circle back? It's gotten easier after teaching the same class 5 to 6 times. Yeah, the refinement will be less and less. It will require fewer touches, basically. So you'll perfect it over time. But do you go through the presentation and say, oh, I think I can make this better, and you stop, and then you fix it, and then you keep going? So it's kind of interrupted. Or do you make notes along the way and circle back? You refine on the fly. Okay, so refine on the fly. And that's a me. And then the level of effort, it is, I'd say moderate here, because it's stop and go, or it's go and stop. It's interruptive. And that's where the time consuming piece is. It's interruptive. Typically just adding better examples or clarifying the wording. Okay, on the fly, clarifying wording, and then improving examples. Okay, and let's see. So, and within that hour, for a 3-hour presentation, it takes you 1 hour to do the whole thing. So we can, online presentation, really this is open the presentation. This is really where the rehearsals, what takes, rehearse and refine. Okay, rehearse and refine on the fly. Okay, good. Okay, now what do you do next? So you open the file, you go to your local drive, open the file on local or shared, whatever, shared drive, whatever, what have you. Okay, most of that hour is just practicing the talking points. Okay, now do you do a spell check after you do your refinements? Do you remember to do a spell check? Or the grammar check? Do you use Grammarly? You do it out loud to your dog. Okay, good. You have an audience there. Do you remember to do a spell check or a grammar check? Or do you just trust your computer automatically spell checks and grammar checks? Okay. So do you use Grammarly, or do you just use the word programming, or I don't know what platform you use, but so really it's just a 2-step process then. Now, do you create any handouts? Do you have to, when you make these improvements, do you then have to go and look at your handouts and make updates in your handouts? Or does the presentation become the handout? How does that work? You do have handouts. So if you refine your presentation, do you then have to go to your handouts? And then you print copies. So synchronize, changes, synchronize handouts, and then print. Okay. Me. Okay. So do your handouts, do you have to revisit your handout? Oh, they're pretty much set. So you don't have to synchronize your handouts. Okay. And do you have stock? Like, do you print, 50 copies and then just reprint when they get down to like 12? Or do you print on demand? You print and staple? Print and staple. But Do you do that on demand, or do you do it in advance and have stock, like a back stock of your handouts? You only print the number for the class in case you need to make a change. Okay, so print on demand. And staple. Okay. And then, and that pretty much does it. So that's the process, 3 steps. You get the presentation open. The presentation has both evergreen and current content. You rehearse and refine on the fly. You improve the examples, clarify wording and such. Takes about an hour. And then you print the handouts just in case you might need to make changes. So really then synchronize handouts as needed, then print on demand. So you save paper. That's good. Printing and stapling takes 30 minutes. Oh, okay. 30 minutes of the hour, or is that 30 minutes in addition? So you're doing this printing at home. So overall, it takes about an hour and a half to prepare for a lesson in addition. Okay, good. All right. So there we have it. There's one example here. Okay. We have an example here. Okay, so now observations using the current National Mahjong League card, using hands from the current National Mahjong League cards requires heavy maintenance. There, using hand examples. Okay, so is there anything else that you would observe in here? What other observations? I have one other little observation. What else do you see here that slows the process down? How many handouts per student? Okay, so we're gonna keep going. One handout has 3 pages, so it's light, but you gotta print it all and then get your stapler out and get it all stapled. I guess that's not too bad. But do you have like 8 students, 16 students? You can't think of any other observations. Okay, one thing that, well, let's just keep going. I don't want to jump ahead here. Okay, so now visualize the flow. So you outline the process next. So this example is for an inquiry, but here the visual map is open, presentation, rehearse, lesson, refine, content, synchronize, handouts. Okay, then we're going to print handouts. Then we're going to staple handouts. Can you guys hear me? Okay, the first page is the outline of the lesson, space to take notes. The last page is a list of helpful links and references. Do you use double-sided? Do you use double-sided? Or are they all single-sided? Okay, double-sided, good. And do you use black and white or grayscale or color? Double-sided. Black and white, okay, good. Okay, then, so now, okay, now here we go. So identify each step, really step one, opening the file. That's really, it's not a 3-step process. It's really open the file. It's really a 2-step activity. So we don't need to make it look any more difficult than it is. So really, it's like this. This is an easy one, but I do think that you could streamline. Okay. My computer, I swear, I don't know what is the deal with this computer. This lag is ridiculous. What is happening? My computer's locked up. Oh my gosh. My husband got me a new computer, but I haven't moved everything over. Okay, now, so this is a 2-step process, basically. It's rehearsing for cut here. It's rehearsing for your presentation on something that you're currently refining. So it's been being perfected over time. So it's taking less and less time. But I do think that if I may make invite you to consider one thing, maybe 2. Okay, so with the rehearsal and then refining process, when do you do that? Do you do that days before, the day of? When do you usually do that? So you want to think about these things, and because when you question, let's see, typically the day of. Okay, so I would say, or I invite you to consider block scheduling. So instead of doing it the day of, maybe make, let's say, Mondays your presentation review days, so that you can get all that done and prepped and ready. So on the day of your lesson, you just hit the ground running. So you're not doing it the day of. What happens if you run out of ink and you have to run to the store and get ink? What happens if there's a power outage and you need to print and you can't? And now you got to go to your lesson with no handouts. So doing it the day of can be a bit of a risk. So consider doing block scheduling where you do your presentation rehearsals or your refinements of your beginner, intermediate, advanced lessons. Spend 2 hours going through all 3 once a month, so they're ready, and maybe even do the printing and have enough for one class ready to go at all times. And then once a month, do the review and then get it prepped. And then all you have to do is go to your staging area. So you'll be able to leverage momentum with your rehearsing and refinement. So because what's going to happen is the problem might be if you do it the day of day of challenges, like no ink, no power, or, you know, who knows what else could get in your way. So the improvement would be block scheduling. Basically, once a month, pick a day for presentation, refinement, and handout printing. So just once a month. The tools or method, that's kind of all same. No change there. Now the time required, if you're doing all 3 presentations, you're going to be able to focus and have a leverage momentum. So I would say if you have 3 presentations, and let's say it takes you an hour and a half per presentation, if you do it 3 separate times, that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4.5, let's say 5 hours. But if you do it all at once, I'd say you can cut your time into, let's say, 2 to 3 hours. Maybe let's say 3 hours to be generous. 3 hours. So you're taking it from maybe 5 hours down to 3 hours, and you're doing it once a month instead of doing it on the fly. That's the first thing that I'd recommend for that. And that way, again, you can just go to your staging area, get what you need for your lesson, and you're done. And then what you might consider is if you have any lessons learned from that lesson that day, send yourself a text, a voicemail, or, you know, tell Siri, hey Siri, send me a text to remind me that I want to modify the fundamentals lesson presentation to include blah, 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 blah. And then when you get home, make a note so that you can, when you do your block, when you do your presentation refinement block, then you'll get that note so that you can have your refinements ready to go. You're not going to just do it when you get home, because that defeats the purpose of block scheduling. So you want to have a system in place so that you can tell yourself how you want to make those refinements and remind yourself of those things. So send yourself a text, tell Siri to email you, and then when you get home, save the email with the presentation or something like that. So you'll want to come up with a system for that. And then another thing that I was thinking, I don't know if you're going to want to do this or not, but 30 minutes to prepare for handouts. If it were me, I would order on Staples, and I would have them do the print job, and I would do like 3 months of printing at once. And then I would just use them up and share in class, or send maybe share in class any updates and have them take notes on it. And that way you don't have to do the stapling and collating and all that kind of stuff. If you do a print order through Staples and have them print double-sided, grayscale, and staple, all you got to do is go get it and come home. But you could maybe do it if you have, let's say you do 4 lessons a month let's say you do 4 lessons a month of beginner and advanced. So you would have 8 students in each. So that would be 8 times 4, that's 32 copies. And you would just go through that, use the whatever you print. And then if you want to make changes, have a refinement process in place so that you can make any synchronization or updates as needed. And after you go through that stock, then update your handouts and then use staples again, and just make that part of the process so that you don't have to do all the stapling. It sounds like the stapling is what has taken all that time. I would recommend going through staples, automate, or really this would be delegate. The problem is staple time. Staple time, improvement, delegate to staples. Method, staples. Time required, 20 minutes. Because you're going to go to staples and back, and that's it. Okay, so then the next thing you do is you test and refine. Same thing, same concept. And then how do you measure success? How much time? And then you want to do a reflection. What's one insight or improvement surprised you during this exercise? What is one insight or improvement that surprised you most during this time? Oh, what insight or improvements? Oh, that was right. Okay, what are your thoughts? This is how you do mapping. This is how you do task mapping. This was a super high level one, super easy, just a 2-step process, but even rehearsing a presentation can be refined. Do you print each document, or do you have a printer that makes copies? It is quicker to print one document than make copies. It also uses less ink. Maybe not. Okay. So that was one. Okay, now you just send the document to the printer and set it for 8, and then you got to get do you have a hand stapler or an automatic stapler? I would invest, if you do this at home, invest in an automatic stapler, trust me, because if you pick up or you put you have to, the manual staplers are a pain. I got an automatic stapler and it's awesome, but I do highly recommend that you use staples in order, or Office Depot or whatever. Use an office print shop and have your handouts done in bulk, especially if you don't have to touch them much, if you don't have much refinement required. Get a back stock of them, but you don't have to have a huge back stock. You could just do like 32 copies of each. And then when you get down to, let's say, your last class, then order more. So you always have one class worth of print handouts. That would be your trigger to order more. So you always have one in stock. So then you get another 32 batches of 8 or what have you. And then you get down to that 8, then you order more and make it part of the system, part of the process. Hand stapler. Yeah, I have an automatic stapler and it's awesome. You just stick it in there, pick it up, stick it in there, pick it up, stick it in there, instead of having to grab the paper, get the stapler, pinch it. You know, it's much easier if you decide to continue doing it from home. Maybe getting an automatic stapler will save you a little bit of time. Instead of 30 minutes, maybe it'll take you 15. So that could be another thing. But, and of course, with the printing, you could send your work to the printer or to your printer and then keep yourself busy, multitask. So it's not like you have to sit there and watch the paper print. You can be off doing other things. But personally, I think I would especially if you don't have to, if your handouts are stable, I would get them printed in batches. Okay, so now let me see. So it's 2:07. Now, shall we do this same process here for Laura? Laura, would you like to do yours where we talk about the emails? Now, I don't think that we need, well, let's talk about it. What do you think, Laura? Would you like to go through this process for your email, your emailing lesson notes? There may be ways. How do you do your, you're welcome, Wes. How do you do your emails? So I'm sure people can relate to this one as well. Post lesson summary emails. I already can think, depending on what you're going to tell me, I already have an idea. Now, I have to tell you this, okay? In my life, I was an administrator for small business. So I did it for like 30 years. So my skill set is on operations and using technology and systems to simplify, streamline for efficiency. So this is my background. So I'm already wondering what you're doing, and I'm already thinking how you can improve. Okay. So tell me what you do, and I'll let you know where my mind is going. Emails have links to YouTube videos and attachments and charts. Okay. So, but now my first question is, if you're using email, do you have an email list? And if so, where is it? So the first question is, do you have an email list? And where is it? What kind of email list do you have? Please explain what is a list. Okay, so how do you track your student emails? Are they just in your Outlook? Or do you have a spreadsheet? Do you use MailChimp? Do you have a sign-up sheet on paper? What method do you use to collect email? I'm just waiting here for Laura. Hopefully you can hear me, Laura. The organization emails you a list of names and email addresses for each student. Okay, so when they give you a list, does it come to you in a spreadsheet or does it come to you in an email body? Sometimes in a spreadsheet, sometimes, oh, PDF. Oh no. Okay, that's key right there. Okay, so spreadsheet, PDF, okay, venue. Okay, so let me share my screen because I'm starting to use this here. Okay, so I've got this in here. So post-lesson summary email, ensure students have study material for continued learning and deliver value. That's the purpose of this process. Is that right? Does that describe the purpose of this process for you? Ensure students have study material for continued learning and deliver value. Okay, so yes, okay. So then you obtain the email list from the venue, and the effort is going to be TBD. You don't know until you get it, because if it is in a PDF, you're going to have to transcribe. If it's in a spreadsheet, easy peasy, copy paste. So the effort is going to be determined. Same with the time required. So that's unexpected. You're going to have you're going to have to anticipate time there. Okay, so once you get the email, what's your next step? What do you do after you get the email list? And is this after, or is this, when do you get the email list? Is it before the class? Is it after the class? Is this something you do while the class is ongoing over time? How does that work? Do you have to follow up with the venue? Do you get it consistently, or do you have to reach out to them and follow up? And is there time spent in trying to get that list? What kind of follow-up do you have to do? What about that part of the process? Is that a problem at all, a challenge? Okay, you get the list before the class. It's not a challenge to get the info. Okay, good. Okay, so once you get the email list, then you, what happens next? You do it's after. So you get the email list as part of the process with the venue. So you have that all ready to go. So I would still say that should be on here, because there may be, you just want to make sure you have time planned, especially if it comes to you in a PDF. Do you use character recognition software? Do you have a scanner with character recognition software? If you happen to get a big list with a PDF, how big are your classes? Because that's going to matter as well. Because if you have to transcribe, if you don't have character recognition software to transcribe a PDF, then that's going to take a while. You would like to know if it's possible to have a blank email template with the BCC of all the email addresses, then reuse the template. Your classes are 16 to 24 people. Okay. Let me just do something real quick. So now, all right, well, let's just keep going. Okay. So once you get back to from your lesson now, how many emails do you send? Is it after every lesson, or is it after all the lessons have been completed? Like at the end of the offer. So how often are you sending emails? How many lessons do you do, and how often are you sending the emails? Typically copy and paste a list of addresses to Word, then copy and paste a lesson addresses to BCC of each email. Copy and paste the list of addresses to Word, then copy and paste addresses into BCC of each email. Okay. So you go from the spreadsheet. Why do you go? So why does Word come into play? Word, and then you, an email after each lesson. How many lessons do you do? How many lessons are there? 4 to 8. Okay. So then what is the effort level of these emails that you send? How long are they? How long do they take you to do? What is the effort level, and how long does it take you to prepare these emails? So it's a group email using Blind CC. Spreadsheet that you receive does not allow you to copy one column. So you have to do some kind of data migration is problematic, is what you're saying. It takes a lot of time, too much. Okay, so data migration from multiple sources, from data migration is time consuming. Okay. All right. Very good. It takes a lot of time, too much time. Okay, good. So for the email itself, though, when you prepare the email itself, we'll just table the data migration challenge and circle back to that. But when you are writing the email, what is the effort level there, and how long does that take you typically once you get to the actual email? Are you writing them from scratch, or do you have drafts that you copy and paste from into? What is your process in composing your emails? We have only let's see. Are you with us, Laura? Oh, there we go. Written level is high effort because you compose each one. You do not have a standard email for each lesson. So you actually write like you kind of do an executive summary of the content that you covered in the class in each email. So the effort level is high. Written level is high effort because you compose each one. You do not have a standardized email for each lesson. Is each lesson repeatable or is each lesson unique? This is in part because you do not know how to copy paste links and attachments and charts. Okay. I already think I have a solution for you if you're open to it, where you don't have to do any of that. Each lesson is standard. Okay, so you do this, you do the same lessons, but you do not use a standard email. So you're like if you did this, let's say you went through one of your lessons this month, like tomorrow, then and let's say you finish it by, let's say, next week, then all through those 4 sessions you have written emails to everybody, and that's off there. And then next month you do it again, but you use the same lesson, and then you go back and you write different emails. Is this the process? The lessons are standardized, but not the emails. And what is the reason for that? Is it because the questions are different in the actual classes, and you're trying to address the comments that are different in every class? Yes, your process is not efficient. Okay. I appreciate the awareness. Kudos for awareness, Laura. That's good that you can see where the bottleneck is. This is why you go through this process, because it shows you the bottleneck. It shows you where it can be streamlined. So what is, how long does it typically take you to write one of the emails? And does it take a long time? And is it all a one-off because the questions in each lesson are different and you're addressing all those individual questions? Is that why? Oops. So 3 is send, send and support. When you copy and paste content from a previous sent email into a new email and some of the content does not paste, sometimes the links and our attachments do not recopy into the new email. Okay, so you've tried doing copy paste from previous and whatnot. Okay, how long does it take you to compose or pull together one of these emails? Does it take 15 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour? How much time are you spending on each email? Okay, takes at least an hour. Okay. And then, so once you get the email done, then you send it. And how much time do you spend with replies? How much support time is required with, or is what would the average support time be with follow-up? You need to locate the YouTube videos and copy and paste links. You need to find your attachments on your messy desktop. Okay. Let's see. Search for URLs. Find documents on desktop for attachments. Okay. Okay, got it. Let's see here. Now, so my other question was, how much time do you spend with follow-up? You rarely receive any questions about an email unless you forget the attachment that you mentioned in the email. Okay, follow-up, we'll put effort low, time required. Is this, do you do weekly classes? So this is nominal, probably. Okay, rarely receive. Okay, all right. Is there anything, what else? Is that pretty much it? 3 steps? This is it? I know where this is, our time is up, but I think I have a few suggestions here, a few observations, if you will, and we'll go a little bit longer. These sessions are 90 minutes now, if you're not aware, just because we dig in and we do examples on the fly, customized, and hopefully you find value in all of this, and that maybe the demonstrations are a way for you to see how you can use these concepts, methods as applied to your needs. Okay, it's typically weekly. In the summer, you have a daily for one class, 1 week class, daily. Okay, all right. So now, looking at this, Laura, do you have any observations? What are your observations with this at the moment? Okay, I'm not sure if you're there, but what I see here is that you need a system to get emails, because what are my observations? Okay, need a system to obtain emails digitally. This should be doable nowadays. There should be no reason for someone to send you a PDF of emails. Especially if this is an educational system, you should be, if I were you, I would require the venue staff to provide an email list to me digitally, because for you to have to go through and transcribe 16 to 24 emails, first name, last name, email, and then risk typos and such, and then the rework that goes into it and the bounced emails that come from it, blah, 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 all that, I would require a digital list of email, a digital email list. Like a gig, make it a gig requirement. Make it like when you negotiate to work in a venue, you'd say, okay, here's how I like to work. I do this, this, and this. I would ask that you provide me a digital list of names and emails of the students before the first class. And that's going to remove all of that. You will remove all of that. And then the other thing that I'm seeing here is you need, do you have an email list of your own, like a spreadsheet? Or do you use MailChimp? And there are ways to ask for this, by the way, with existing clients. There are ways to approach this so that's not a big ask. You could just say, I'm streamlining my operations. Is it possible for me to receive a digital list, email list? So there are ways that you can approach it without being needy. You have suggesting create a Google Drive folder with all your attachments. Yep, we're getting there, Wes. I have a different different one, but I want to ask about her email list first too. You don't have an email list. Okay, so that's the next thing then that I'd recommend. Wes is recommending create a Google Drive folder with attachments. Is it one which with attachments, and send a link to the drive folder. Okay, so I want to just put that down there at the bottom for now. So I highly recommend, Laura, that you start storing, you create your own email list. So are you comfortable using Excel? Actually, well, yeah, use Excel, and I highly recommend that you use MailChimp and start an email list of your own. This is a business asset. This is a business asset. So all these emails from all your lessons, those are your students. Yes, they came to you from the venue, but you taught them how to play. So you can reach out to them again for ongoing events and lessons. And let's say you want to have a end of year party for all your students. If you don't have an email list, how will you invite them? So think about having your own email list. And I would recommend starting with Excel, getting all the emails that you have access to into Excel, and then get MailChimp, which is free, up to like, I think, 2,000 subscribers or something like that. And then you can upload that list to MailChimp and have them all in MailChimp. And it's an intuitive mailing system. And I highly recommend it. It's free, free up to, I think, 2K subscribers or something like that. And then so I just want to say you can, the data migration is an issue. So this is really a solution. Are names and emails more of a database format than a spreadsheet? Names and emails more of a database format than spreadsheet. Well, I mean, it doesn't have to be complex. It's just first name, last name, email. But you would want to have a column for example, which class did they take? Did they take, well, this is where it can get a little more complex. But if you use something like MailChimp, you can use tags and create a tag for every class. So you could say, for example, venue A, let's say Acme venue fundamentals Q4 2025. So you could then you could create an email with every subscriber with that tag, and they would all just populate in there. You don't have to do any copying and pasting or anything. You tag all the students that were in that class, and then when you create your email in MailChimp, you say send it to the students with this tag, and it's automated. It's automated. You don't have to do anything. All you would need to do in the front end is tag the students that were in the class. So you would put their names, first name, last name, email, and then a tag. So the tag would be, let me just show you. Let me see here. I got to check my. I have a 4 o'clock, I think. Let me just double check. Yeah, I have a 4 o'clock, so I can go longer. So I'm going to pull up a spreadsheet here real quick. You do not contact former students to invite them to another class. Sometimes organizations forbid this. Okay, that's fine. What you would do in that case is you would have a tag. You would use tags that would keep you from being able to do that, but you could still do automations and abide by those agreements. But you do not contact former students. So then if you, I still think you can use MailChimp in a way that is going to streamline your processes and save you a lot of time and headache, and still abide by any agreements on using the data. So if they put a parameter on the usage, what would be an example? Have they told you that here are the emails, but you can only communicate with them regarding the lesson, this lesson? Is that an example of what that is? You cannot contact student after a class has ended except to respond to a former student. So I see you cannot proactively email students after the class, but if they contact you, then you can. Is that what you're saying? I still think this can work though, because yes, you cannot initiate the emails, but you can reply to emails from former students. Okay, I see. So in your lessons, are you permitted to invite students to subscribe to your mailing list? Are you permitted to include a QR code in your handouts to encourage students to sign up for your mailing list? Because this could make your life much easier if you make this small change. I guess it would be a big change, but it would be worth it. So the email list in a spreadsheet would be as easy as this right here. And then basically you would know that Acme Academy, if it is tagged with Acme Academy, that you cannot email them directly unless they subscribe to your, unless they give you permission to subscribe. Let's see here. So what you would do is during the lessons, they would be active in, let's say you use MailChimp. After the lessons, archive them. But they still have the ability to subscribe to your email list, which would bring them out of the archive status and they would become a subscriber. That's how I would do it, I believe. A tag feature is just like putting a note. It's like putting a pin in it. A tag is like just putting a pin or a sticky note on a person's name. It's like a label. It's a label. It's just a label. And you use the tags in the system to gather the people that you want to communicate with. So when you have a big list of students, all with this as the tag, all you do is you create an email and tell MailChimp to pull only the students at Acme Academy 2025 Q4. But so once you have your list of names, you would upload this into MailChimp. It's just a matter of clicking, pointing. It walks you, there's a wizard that you walk through, super easy, and it imports them into MailChimp and then it's there. And then in MailChimp, you create an email and you tell it which tag to use for that particular campaign. Maybe what we can do is a session on how do you know, like a tutorial, a MailChimp tutorial. I've been using it for years and I love it. It's wonderful if you maintain it. But the thing about an email list is it's an asset. And now if you do have limitations on what you can do as far as using that information due to their privacy policy, that's fine. You can still use your systems during the lesson per their agreement, and then you could archive their names so that you're not mistakenly reaching out to them. But if you use the tags anyway, you're not going to make that mistake if you know how to use the system. Let's see here. MailChimp, yes, please, a tutorial. Okay. All right. So maybe we could even do that as part of this series. Okay. So data migration is an issue, MailChimp. So Laura, do you have a website? Let's see, e.g. It would be I guess. You do not currently have a functional website. Okay. All right. Let's see here. So I would say that this is probably the solution then for you. So if you were to make it a request or requirement to get emails digitally from your client as part of your agreement, that would make your life easier. Also, regarding the data using or because of the issue with data migration, having that digital list is going to save time. But also, if you use Excel instead of Word, if you don't want to use MailChimp, you could even use Excel and just use it temporarily and just have a spreadsheet for each class. But then you might be having the same students and you're going to have to, I just think it'd be easier to have an ongoing list. But do the same students come to your lessons, or are they different all the time? You have one beginner class. You recently added a guided play class that you need to rename. Next year, you will add advanced beginners. Mostly former students have enrolled in guided play. Okay, and you're not able to email these students? So these are their students, not your students. Is that, am I understanding that correctly? And did they give you that policy saying that you cannot email your students outside your service period? So during your service period, you may email a student. Otherwise, the only way you can email a student is if they reach out to you first. Oops. So you propose a class to the organization. If it's approved, the organization handles all the marketing and finds the students. Okay. So is there an agreement in place between you and the venue that you are not who provides the contract for your work? Because it sure seems lopsided to me. If I'm an instructor and I'm teaching these students, I think I should get those emails. And I don't think it would be fair for that venue to say, no, you cannot email these students. I would rework my contract to say that's part of my contract. I mean, you're still it's not like you're gonna pilfer or pirate their students and take them from them and go on your own. That's not what you're doing. You're trying to just communicate and serve. So I would say you might want to look at the contract and request a modification so that you are able to use the emails for the students you teach outside your service period, that they become your clients as well. Your client is the host, but your client is also the students in this case, unless they're not willing to allow that. But a contract is negotiable. So I recommend that you negotiate it and ask if you can obtain an email list for yourself, because you have no asset. Yes, you're getting paid, so you are being compensated, but that's all you're getting from the relationship. You don't have, if that venue went away, you'd have nothing because you don't get any of the students. So it feels a bit lopsided to me. Okay, so here we have oh, yeah, I agree, Wes. That sounds fair to me as well. Okay, so obtain email problem or inefficiency is different formats, PDF, prevents or requires transcription. You do not market to individual clients, you only market to organizations. Okay. So then you might hire a mahjong that might hire, you need to create a database of potential organizations that might hire a mahjong instructor. So your email list then should be the organizations that you serve, and the organizations should be sending the emails then. You're doing their work then. But there's still ways that I think ways around still providing value to the students without taking so much work from you. You are doing a lot of work here. Let's see here. Obtain the email list. Okay. Improvement would be require digital email list in Excel. I would just say require email list in Excel. I guess that would be here. Require digital email list. Okay, and then to migrate the data, this is a problem here. The improvement would be, well, that wouldn't be an issue though if you do that. Okay, so improvement would be MAHJLIFE and tags. Let's see. MailChimp would be the tool or method, and then you would automate using tags. And the compose the email, oh my gosh, well, okay. The composing the email would be use a shared drive, provide one link instead of attachments. Oh, this would be links. You would have a resources PDF with links. So instead of copying and pasting links, have resources, a resources PDF with links inside. So instead of getting all these different links, have a preset PDF with the links already in there. So you're giving them access to a shared drive with resources that they can find themselves. And this would be shared drive. And then the attachments would be documents, upload, or really it would be store. Oops. Okay, and then send really is, as an example, Laura, you'd be glad to share a link, a document with you. Okay, add. So this would be how to improve your life here. So require, the improvement here would be require a digital email list in Excel. That's going to save you a lot of time, especially if they give you a PDF. You don't have to transcribe anymore. And doing the BCC, if you were to use MailChimp, you would be able to leverage that use of tags, and I'll do a demonstration on how to do that, or find a tutorial on how to do it. I'm sure you could find a tutorial on YouTube. Just look at MailChimp, using MailChimp tags, and I bet you could find a tutorial. And then as far as the PDFs or the attachments, or not the attachments, but links that you are always giving out, I would create a Word file, save it as with all the links that you provide, and document what the links are with a little blurb, and then the source, so you're sure to give attribution, and then save that as a PDF and upload that to a shared drive. So you're only sending them one link, and that's a link to the shared drive, and they have access to PDF with the links, and then the documents that you would normally send as attachments. Instead of doing that, upload the documents to that same shared drive. So you're giving them one link with everything in it. It's a digital library for them, and that's a perk of your service. That's one of the inclusions in your offer, that you would give students access to a digital library for ongoing learning. And then, of course, do the test and refine. So that's what I would do as well. Now, if you had a website, I would recommend that you would create a protected page or an unlisted page with links, and maybe a digital library similar to the shared drive, but instead have it on one web page. So that would be your student digital library, and you could just send all your students to that one place, and it has everything they need. So you don't have to do these emails all the time. Everything would already be there. And another thing that I was thinking is you could have a web page for every level of class or type of class. And for your fundamentals, after, you would have all these set up separately, or they would just access that, and you would tell them, what to look for in that library. You have a newbie, you have a new website that is a work in progress. Okay. But if you have a web page for each level of class or type of class, and then you put the resources on there with attributions, if you're sourcing other creators, put a link in there to that content, and then have a digital library where they can download the files that are used as handouts or what have you. So instead of having to upload new attachments to an email and finding them and copying and pasting links, instead you're just sending them one link to one web page. And then you just save that email as a template, and you reuse that, and you won't have to compose every time again. So save the email as a template for that class, and just copy the content with that one link to the shared drive, and that would be what you send, instead of having to compose from scratch and going and getting the attachments and all the links, copying and pasting and all that. You can just retire all those tasks if you use a web page with resources, a digital library, or a shared drive. So you have choices. You're not familiar with privacy protected content on a web page. You need to learn this. The privacy protected features are be part of your content management system. So it's going to depend on your service provider. For example, I use WordPress. And all you do is click a button. You make it, it's role based. So any of your people who log in would need that role to see that page. But you could also have some kind of an encrypted page where nobody will know about it unless they have the link, and you don't even have to make it protected. It would be unlisted and not searchable. So for example, laurahoover.com/abc9843. Who's going to find that? Nobody, unless they have the link. So that page is out there on the internet, but because it has an encrypted URL, nobody will ever find it unless you give them that link. So there are ways around protected pages. All right, well, I hope you found this helpful. We went way long today, but talking about systems and workflows is complex, and we went through 2 examples. So I hope that you got something from this. If you want to streamline any of your workflows, check out this mapping tool and give it a try, and think about what you go through with these recurring tasks, and look for those bottlenecks and identify ways that you can streamline, automate, delegate, or even remove steps to make your life easier. That's what this was all about. You're welcome. So sorry it went long. It went super long, but I think it was good. It was fun. I enjoy doing this. Operations is kind of my thing from my past, so it feels good. I hope you got a lot out of it. Thank you for being here. We'll be back again next week, and I'll see what the topic is. Let me just look at what the topic is for next week, because I think we're going to talk about systems again. It's not going to go this deep, though. This one was deep. Let me see here. I'll see how I could bring in MailChimp, because it's a fantastic tool. It's affordable and it's intuitive, relatively intuitive. I'm trying to get to next week's topic, so bear with me here. Churning. Here we go. Okay, so next week is the 27th. Why is it not? There we go. No. This is, come on, this computer, I swear, I'm going to throw it through the window. Why is this happening? I don't know why it's not letting me see. Anyway, it's going to be on systems of some kind. I don't remember what I had scheduled, and my website is not letting me see my articles. What? I don't understand. There we go, you stinker. Okay, now, sorry for the delay. Okay, tech tools that simplify your life. That's what we're going to talk about next week. Tech tools that simplify your life. I'll see if MailChimp is in there because it would simplify your life 100%. Okay, you need to move your new, I need to move to the new computer. I do. Oh my gosh. Oh, Thursday is Thanksgiving. Thank you. We'll do it the week after. Yeah, we don't want to do a live stream on Thanksgiving. Okay, so that's going to do it. Well, not next week, but the week after, we'll talk about tech tools that simplify your life. And this also is up my alley. This is my thing. This is my background. So I'm more than happy to share things that I've used that have simplified my life, including MailChimp. So I look forward to seeing you. Thank you again for being here with me and for being open with your challenges. It really helps give us real life examples of how to use tools to do what we love better, make improvements along the way, and simplify our lives. Don't we all want that? I think yes. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, consider subscribing. Click the little gray bell if you do. That way you'll get notification for when I post new videos, and you won't miss an opportunity to learn a new strategy or pick up an insight to the game that could give you an advantage at the table. Between now and the next video, may all your picks be keepers.